Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Crista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we're going to be diving into 90-day planning and how to set yourself up for success for a brand new quarter. So we're already halfway through the year, which is hard to believe, and there's only 2 quarters left. So you really want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for a really strong finish to the year, and that begins with your 90-day planning. So what we're going to walk through today is I'm going to take you through the process that I do with all of my clients and that you'll also find inside the Lean Out Planner. We're going to keep things at a high level, so this is something that you can take and implement and do right away. But as you're thinking about planning for a new 90-day period, the most important thing that you're always going to want to start with is reflection on the last 90 days. And when you're mid-year, like we're at right now, I always like to actually reflect back and look at the first half of the year and then look forward at the second half of the year. So I'm not going to plan that last quarter of the year in a lot of detail, but I am going to do a high-level 6-month roadmap all the way out through the rest of the year. Also going to reflect back on everything so far this year, just to make sure when you think back to that overall vision that you set and those goals that you set for this year, that you're on track, things are progressing, or if you needed to pivot, maybe things have evolved, maybe you've shifted what it is that you actually want to achieve this year, that you're taking the time to recognize that now so that, again, you're setting yourself up for a really successful and strong finish to the year. So let's go ahead and dive in, starting with reflection on how things are going so far and how things have gone both in the last 90 days and so far in the first part of the year. So there's 4 questions that I recommend that you ask, and these are really helpful to do as a discussion with your full team. Here's the 4 questions. It's, what are you most proud of and went really well so far? Where are there lessons learned and things that didn't go as well as you expected? What do you want to continue or do more of going into this new quarter? And what do you want to eliminate or do less of going into this new quarter? So if you think about the things that you're most proud of and that went really well and the lessons learned and things that maybe didn't go as well as expected, those are really focused on your results. Those are the things that you're celebrating. And yes, you're even celebrating the things that did not go as well as expected because of the lessons you were able to learn from them and what you're able to take away to fast track your results going forward. Now, when you're thinking about what do you want to continue and do more of, and what do you want to eliminate and do less of, in other words, what do you want to lean out, that's really all about alignment. That's making sure that you are focused on the right things and the things that are in alignment with the vision and goals that you have for your business, as well as your personal values, your mission, all of those things. Really, you want to make sure that the things that you're doing are in alignment very holistically. And so the reason I love these 4 questions, and I especially love these 4 questions when you ask them in a team setting, is they're very results focused and they're very alignment focused. And both of those are foundational to setting yourself up for success. Doing this reflection before you plan for the new quarter is really helpful because quite often you're going to end up pivoting some of what you're doing based on those results. And this really helps you keep things lean, it helps you keep things strategic, and it helps you make sure that you're not wasting time on the things that don't matter. It gives you a lot of clarity and where to be focused for the next 90 days. Now, beyond these 4 questions, here's a few other things to think of. Did you actually achieve your overall goals and sales and growth targets in the last 90 days or looking back at the first half of the year? How are you progressing overall? Are there any changes that you need to make for the next 90 days to account for where you're at? Maybe you're recognizing that you can actually achieve better growth, higher sales, higher profit than you thought at the beginning of the year. That's incredible if that's the momentum that you have going on right now. If on the flip side, maybe this first half of the year wasn't as strong as you thought it was going to be, really start to look at what you can do in the second half of the year to make up for that, to continue to hit those goals and targets that you set. Or maybe you need to adjust those goals and targets overall and look at them with some fresh eyes based on what you know so far and what's happened so far this year. Now, the other thing that's really helpful to do is to deep dive into your actual offers in your business as well as your activities. When you look at your offers, what is performing the best and what is performing the worst? And it's really good to dig into that, and not just the overall offer itself, because if you have a lean business, you probably don't have 87 different offers. I hope you don't have 87 different offers, right? You probably have a few core offers. But if you really think about all of the different components of those offers, think about your entire sales funnel. Think about, is your opt-in performing really well? Are certain ads performing really well? When people get in, let's say it's a digital program that you have, are there certain sections that everybody completes and others that people aren't following? If you have a mastermind or a group coaching program, which elements do people seem to be getting the most value out of and showing up for the most? And which elements are they not really taking advantage of, and why? So really reflect on your top performing and worst performing offers. But if you have a lean offer suite already, dive into the components of those offers and really look at what's working and where there may be some opportunities to improve upon them. Now, the other thing to be thinking about is profitability of those offers. So really dig into your offers to see what is your most profitable offer and what is your least profitable offer. Sometimes you will have a high volume of sales on something that is less profitable than something else. And if you were to shift your focus to that more profitable offer, you actually would generate more revenue and more profit by the end of the year. And it can be counterintuitive, because when you just look at the volume and you think, well, I'm selling so much of this, it's great. But if it's not a really profitable offer, think about the time and the effort that it's taking for your team to deliver that offer. Think about what you're investing to get clients, whether it be through paid advertising, or if it's your time, if you're maybe going out and doing collaborations and maybe going live in people's Facebook groups. Now, the other thing that you can do is, again, if you have a lean offer suite, you're really confident that the offers that you currently have are the right offers, always take a look at what your least profitable offer is and look for ways to make it more profitable. And then finally, when you look at your activities, what are your most optimized activities and what are your least optimized activities? So activities that are really optimized are ones that are typically automated and systematized, right? You've got really clear systems in place. You've got the right tool for the job. Whoever's doing and implementing that particular activity, whether it's you or somebody from your team, they know precisely what to do. They know how to do it. They do it consistently, repeatedly, all the time. And so that's an example of an activity that's highly optimized. Now, an activity that's not optimized is it's super manual, takes a lot of time. There's a lot of variance. You don't have repeatable results. There's not a lot of consistency in it. Those usually are really big opportunities for automating and systematizing. Another thing to look for when you're looking at your least optimized activities are things that are on your plate that you're doing that are not in your zone of genius. They're things that somebody else could do or could probably do better than you could do. And so you do want to get those off your plate as quickly as possible. So this may give you an indication that it might be time to build up your team, or maybe there's some restructuring and moving around you could do with your current team members to get your activities more aligned to your zone of genius and those things that really fuel you, and do the same for your team members. Now, the final thing that you want to do when you're looking back and doing your reflecting is Chuck. Go back, listen to the podcast episode where I dive in and walk you through how to leverage Chuck. But this is just taking that deeper look at all of the different activities that you have in your business right now, the things that you've done so far this year, and making a determination. Is it something that you want to cut? Is it something that you want to place on hold? Is it something that you want to change? Or is it something that you want to keep as is? This is a super useful technique in helping you to lean things out, making sure that A, you're only working on those things that really matter, and B, that you're doing the things that you're doing in as effective and efficient and optimized a manner as possible. So again, go back and listen to that other podcast episode where I walk you through how to leverage Chuck in greater detail. So again, when you go back to where we first started with those 4 questions, highly recommend that you do those with your team. The remaining questions, the ones that we just walked through, those can be helpful to do with your team as well. I do these with my team as part of our quarterly planning. We do usually a 3-hour session. We spend about the first 45 minutes doing reflecting, and then we spend the rest of the time looking forward and planning the next 90 days, as well as looking a little bit longer term at our roadmap for 6+ months. So that's how you do the reflection piece of your planning. Now let's dive into actually planning out the next 90 days and looking more broadly through the rest of the year. So there's a few different things that you're going to want to do as you look ahead at the next 90 days. And absolutely everything always starts with vision. So go back and revisit the vision that you have for your business. And as I mention often, this is not the vision statement that you have published on your website. This is your vision of what you see for your business in the future. This covers the 3 facets that I always mention, which is the business itself, you and your role in your lifestyle, as well as your customer. And so go back and revisit your vision. Sometimes when you revisit that vision, it's just validating that yes, this is absolutely what I want, both long-term and near-term, when you think about both your long-term vision as well as your vision for the next year. And sometimes you may be in a place where you want to reimagine your vision a little bit. With the big, bold business moves that I've got going on in my business right now, I'm reimagining my vision a little bit. And it's actually a really quite exciting time. And I'm enjoying going through and really letting myself think really big again. I've already accomplished so much of what I had set for my vision for the year, which just feels incredible. And so now I'm thinking, what can I really do this year? When I look at that long-term vision, I did so much more this year, so much more quickly than I thought I was going to. What else can I do? And so it's a really great place of possibility to be thinking from. And so it's really helpful for you to do the same, is look at that vision that you set and see if there's any changes that you want to make. Maybe you want to dream a little bit bigger or really challenge yourself to do things at a different pace than maybe you thought that you were going to, in the same way that I did. So start with your vision. You always start with vision, right? Once you have that vision set, and specifically at this point, you're looking at your vision for the next year or even through the rest of this year, is you want to break that down into goals, and specifically 90-day goals. So I am a big believer in having one overarching goal for a 90-day period of time. Yes, there's going to be a lot of different things that you're going to do. There may be lots of different projects and marketing campaigns and different things that you're going to be focused on in the next 90 days, but you should have one overarching goal. So if you have more than one, try to keep it few, right? Less is more when it comes to goals, but go ahead and set and establish what that one goal or those few goals are that you want to achieve in the next 90 days. And also take the time to really reflect on what will make this 90 days feel like a success. And the word feel, I use that very intentionally. What will make it feel like a success for you? Your goals and your targets and all of those things are going to be about the things that you accomplish. But what will feel like a success to you? Is it that you're committing to not overworking and not being overwhelmed? That you're going to leverage what I call capacity-based planning, meaning you're only going to commit to things that you can actually achieve in the number of hours that you want to work, as opposed to just working yourself into exhaustion every single day, right? And so what will make the 90 days feel like a success for you? And really think that through and make sure that as you're committing to your plan and looking ahead at what you want to do in the next 90 days, that you keep that in mind. Now, the other thing that you're going to do is, once you've got your goals set, you also are going to want to set your sales targets as well as your growth targets. So I always think every 90-day period, you're focused on a few different things. You've got your overarching goal, you've got your sales, so your revenue targets, and you really should be looking at your profitability as well. And you've got your growth targets. With growth targets in particular, something to keep in mind is what you focus on expands, and you are going to get far better results. Again, if you think about, I talked about one goal, well, think about one channel. What is your one primary channel that you want to be focused on in the next 90 days? Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have other channels and that you don't have that kind of omnipresence, but that being said, there should be one that you're kind of going all in on and really putting your focus on. So when you set your growth targets for the next 90 days, don't create a list of 85 different things. Pick those top few things that you really want to focus on growing, and keep in mind what your primary channel is. So once you know your goals and your sales and growth targets, the next step is to break that down into the different initiatives, the projects and marketing campaigns that are going to make those goals a reality. This is where a lot of people really struggle with this piece. Some people have no problem setting vision and goals. Some people have no problem getting stuff done, but creating that bridge and connecting the strategy to the execution and getting really clear on what the right things are to be focused on to actually achieve those goals, as well as break it down in a meaningful way where you and your team can actually go off and implement them with confidence, that can be a real struggle for people. So take the time to really brainstorm this out. I love using Miro, which is a digital tool, or plain old sticky notes, right? If I'm doing the planning with my team, which I usually am, we're virtual, so I'll use Miro. If I'm doing planning and brainstorming on my own, I've usually got my sticky notes and my whiteboard. So however it makes sense to you, but really look at those goals, look at those sales and growth targets, and just start to brainstorm how could you achieve them. Sometimes you know exactly what you need to do. Other times you need to spend a little bit of time brainstorming. And if you need to spend time brainstorming, don't pre-edit yourself. Put all the ideas out, even the wild, wacky, crazy ideas, just put them all out there. And then you'll refine it down and you'll really pick the things that you need to do. Your goal is that you want to be building up a backlog of all of the different things that you could potentially be focused on in the next 90 days. You're not yet committing to what you're going to be focused on because you have to make your commitments with your capacity in mind, both your capacity as well as your team's capacity. But you do want to have that backlog of all of the things that you could potentially do. And you also want to be thinking about projects themselves as well as marketing campaigns. So your projects might be getting everything built out on your website, doing some sort of new tool, doing a launch itself and planning for the launch. Maybe it's developing a program. It's typically the thing that you're doing behind the scenes. Now, your marketing campaigns are things like your social media posts, your paid ads if you're doing that. Now, another thing that you want to be thinking about is how you'll need to shift and expand your mindset to achieve your goals. So as you continue to grow in your business and as you continue to reach those new levels, we all know mindset is like the gift that keeps on giving. You break through one area and then all of a sudden the mindset gremlins come back up again, right? And so when you think about what you really need to do to achieve your goals, where are you going to have to challenge yourself and really focus on mindset? I'll give you an example from one of my clients who she knew that she really needed to increase her visibility, and lead generation was a big focus for her. She knew that she needed to get more visible and get in front of her target market a lot more, which meant she needed to do more videos. She had a real hang up on video, which I can totally relate to. I had a hang up with video for a really long time. These days I'm good with it, but for a very long time I was not. And so I totally feel her current struggle with that. But she really had to commit to the fact to say, you know what, the best way to achieve the goal and the best way to get the results that I'm looking for is I've got to do video. And so she really committed to A, showing up and doing the video, but B, she gave herself the space to work on her mindset and really push through some of those challenges and have the conversations with me and with others when she needed to, so that she would continue to follow through and not make excuses and really do the thing that was going to help her move her business to the next level. So you do want to be thinking not just of tactically the stuff that you need to do, but don't forget about the inner work, the stuff that you need to work on to grow as a leader yourself that's going to make that possible. The next thing that I typically do is I will then build out a 6-month roadmap. And considering that we've got 6 months left in the rest of the year, it's the perfect time to put in place your 6-month roadmap. Now, you may have a much longer roadmap as well. Your roadmap, because it's further out, is at a high level. The further out something is, the higher level it should be. The closer in time something is, the more detail there should be. So when you're looking at your 6-month roadmap, you really just for the next 6 months, for each month, you want to look at what are your top priorities. And you may not know exactly what they are the further out you go. That's fine. Just start to define what you do know today. Also look at for those projects and campaigns, the projects and marketing campaigns, where do they fall? Which months are you going to be working on what? Look at events and commitments. So what are you going to be doing? Now is the time that you actually should be thinking about the holidays. Are you you going to do a Black Friday promo or some sort of end of year promo? It's a really, really great opportunity that sometimes online businesses and service-based businesses don't think about because they're thinking of products, they're thinking of sales. There's a lot that you can actually do with your online business and a lot of great promotions that you can do that do not involve discounting at all. I'll dive into that further in an upcoming episode, but you really want to start thinking about that stuff now. So this is why I like doing the 6-month roadmap, is if you look ahead through the end of the year, think about when are you going to do your launches. If you do more event-based launches, meaning you don't just have everything evergreen in your business, when are those events going to be? What does that look like? The final thing that I'm going to mention is something called enablers. And this is an area that I see a lot of people overlook, and it can really impact your plans. And so here's what an enabler is. An enabler is something that you need to be doing now to enable something to happen in the future. So the example that I gave you, we're going to say that you're going to do a small business Saturday special this year, right? I did one last year. It was a really great special. I'm sure I'll do one again this year. I always like to make it about Small Business Saturday as opposed to Black Friday, but whatever makes sense for your business. So let's say you know that you're going to be doing a Small Business Saturday special. Well, you realistically probably have some things that you need to be doing now to enable yourself to be able to do that in Q4. Another example of an enabler is the Lean Out Level Up Retreat is back, which is exciting. I cannot wait. It's coming in January. So right now I'm working on finding venues and finding caterers. And there's a whole lot of enabler type activities like that if I didn't do those now, I could never host the event in January. I can't be planning for a January event in Q1 or even in Q4. You need to plan for an event at least 6 months in advance, sometimes even longer. And so those are enabler type activities that I'm doing now that are going to make that event possible. And so really think through when you look at Q4, again, high level roadmap when you have that 6-month roadmap that you build out. But when you look at Q4, really challenge yourself to think, if I start all of this in Q4, am I going to be behind on something, or is there something I need to start now in Q3 in order to make it so that I can do what I want to do and accomplish what I want to accomplish in Q4? And you'll usually find that there is. Okay, so if you've followed along and done this, you've reflected on the past quarter, you have planned the next 6 months at a really high level from a roadmap perspective. You've built a backlog of all of the things you could potentially do for the next 90 days, and you've considered your enablers, those things that you weren't previously thinking about for this 90 days, but that you need to be focused on and thinking about now so that you're also set up for success for Q4. So with all of that as input, now you actually build your 90-day plan. And so as you build the 90-day plan, you're going to go to your backlog and you're going to look at what you realistically, the keyword there, can accomplish in the next 90 days based on your capacity. So think about how much time do you want to work in the next 90 days? How much time does your team have available to work in the next 90 days? What other resources do you need and do you have available? So this could not just be, your time, but this is financials, this is tools, this is expertise and skill. So think about everything that you're going to need in the next 90 days. Really think about what you have available and make your commitments based on that. So what you should land with for your 90-day plan is, at a high level, what are the major projects and marketing campaigns that you're going to get done? And roughly, when do you need to get them done? What are your sales and growth targets, as well as your overall goal or goals for the quarter? What's going to make the next 90 days feel like a success? And what can you realistically get done in the next 90 days? And you're going to round things out with what I call a confidence vote. And so if you think about a scale of 1 through 5, with 1 being the least confident and 5 being the most confident, and again, this is really helpful to do with your team, look at the plan that you've committed to for the 90 days and vote. How confident are you that you're going to be able to achieve it? And most importantly, not only are you going to be able to achieve it, but you're going to be able to achieve it within the capacity capacity that you set, meaning you are not overworking and you are not putting yourself in a place of overwhelm where you are trading your personal life for your business. If you have a score that's less than 3, you really want to go back and replan until you get to the point that you have high confidence. You want to be as close to 5 as possible, but sometimes things are a little bit of a stretch, and that's okay. The key is that both you and your team have confidence that the plan is realistic, it's achievable, and that you're working on the right things that are going to get you the right results and that are in alignment with that overall vision that you have. So that is how you set yourself up for success for any 90-day period, and especially how you set yourself up for success for the rest of this year. So if you would like any help doing this in your business, there are 2 different ways that you can work with me, and I just opened up spaces for my one-day business intensives as well as private coaching clients. So I can work with you or with you and your team and develop your lean strategic plans for the next 90 days or through the end of the year. We can do that in a one-day business intensive, or if you'd like additional accountability and support and to meet every 2 weeks and continue to build out those detailed focus plans all the way throughout the end of the year, that's where the private coaching comes in. So if you'd like to learn more, you can go ahead and put time on my calendar and let's chat. Let's see if it's a good fit. Go to chatwithcrista.com, and Crista is spelled Crista. There's no H in my name, no K, no Y. People get creative in the spelling of my name, but it's Crista. So go to chatwithcrista.com and put some time on my calendar and let's chat, see if I can support you. And with that, I wish you an amazing start to Q3, and I will see you again next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I hope you got a lot of value and actionable insights from today's show, and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community, where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week.